Today on CCX News, the legacy of a Brooklyn Park lawmaker.
She cared about Minnesota. She cared about Minnesotans.
I felt a connection with her.
Just a phenomenal leader.
The impact Melissa Hortman made on lawmakers new to the state capitol. CCX Media sat down with 3 members of the freshman class to learn about her dynamic work on the campaign trail and in St. Paul.
Thank you for being here today. After speaking with Representative Hiltsley from here in Brooklyn Park, we thought it would be interesting to get together some of the DFL freshman class of lawmakers after recent events to talk about Representative Melissa Hortman. So to begin, by a show of hands, did Melissa Hortman help you with your campaigns? Right. Would you agree, by a show of hands, that she was a tough but fair coach out on the campaign trail and somewhat of a genius? Mm-hmm. All right. Representative Gottfried, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, so my campaign was a little special. I mean, it literally was a special election that occurred on March 11th, and Melissa was dogged in making sure that we were on track for our door knocking numbers, which paid off. I mean, we ended up doing 7 passes at our district on the doors, meaning that we were able to go through the houses that we were knocking 7 times over a 2-month period, and she was hugely instrumental in achieving that. Right. Yeah, she was incredible.
Did she push either one of you as well? Because you didn't have a special race, but your races were important nonetheless.
Yes, absolutely. My seat was considered one of the targeted seats, so I won by 1.2%. And her strategy, her knowledge, her campaign experience was passed down through all of the House Caucus DFL staff, and they gave me amazing guidance on how to run this race and what's really important, which is door knocking and talking to folks face to face. And she knew what worked and pushed us to do what worked.
Yeah. And Representative Hiltsley, would you say the same?
Mine is slightly different in the sense that my seat was safe. You know, whoever who won the primary would, more likely win the November election. And so her push for me was get out of your district, get out of your comfort zone, and go do sister door knocks. And so I went to Carrie's, obviously I went to David's. And so for her, she didn't invest a lot of time in my race because she knew we had secured that. Like, she was data driven and she didn't have time to, play around. She was like, all right, you're good, congrats, now go door knock for others, for other candidates. And for me, she was a visionary in the sense like she saw the big picture and not dwelt on, individual things. And for me, that was so important. Yeah. She had the big picture, but then she made sure the individual pieces to that big picture came together.
So she was a team player. Yes. Definitely believed in the team.
For sure. And I will say, during the special election, I mean, she mobilized the entire DFL House Caucus, representatives, staff, everyone to come out and knock. I mean, Carrie and Huldah here, we're both just incredible volunteers, door knockers for that special election. And appreciate you both for doing that. But I think really that kind of came down to Melissa's leadership throughout. Just a phenomenal leader.
I'd like to add too, when she would come to a door knock launch, it was never about her. Mm-hmm. Some other politicians might want that spotlight and take the time to give this long speech in front of volunteers, but she wanted her speech to be short, sweet, and get out on the doors.
Yep, because she had another door to go to.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. Exactly.
So you won the races, you were elected. All right, what's next? How did her influence and inspire you or help you, like day one on the job?
I think we have to understand the magnitude of what this legislative session was. How unique and different. Nobody has ever gone through something like this. And so watching Melissa lead the way she did was, now that we look back, personally for me, it was brilliant, right? She led with this quiet strength. She had so much on our shoulders, but she didn't bring that burden to us. She made sure that we knew exactly what was going on, the information that we needed to know, where we needed to be and what we needed to do. There's moments where we were frustrated at times and sometimes pissed off at what she was doing, but we trusted in her leadership. you know, and for me, you know, I have stories where she would do little things to just make sure that she knew you existed. She knew that, you know, you felt like you weren't this, you know, on your own. And one of those stories for me personally was when, you know, I got an email asking me if I had some time for a one-on-one with, you know, Speaker Emeritus, you know, and I'm sitting here going, ooh, I feel special, right? I thought, you know, it was both a scary moment. Am I going to the principal's office? Or she wanted to talk about something, you know, and because we come from the same city, you know, I thought I was extra special. No, that was for all of us freshmen to just get some time for, you know, that one-on-one. And for me, I remember looking back for a second feeling special, but at the same time thinking, she's taking time out of her busy schedule to meet with each of us individually to just check in. And my conversation with her was, hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Okay, all right, anything you need from me, you know, and that was it. And for me, I will never forget how she made me feel, you know, how she made me feel valued and heard and that I belonged in that space. As a freshman legislator, you know, you couldn't have asked for a better leader. For me, I don't even see her as a colleague. I see her as a mentor, my leader, everything that she encompassed in terms of leadership. That's who she was to us.
And Representative Rayburn, were you believe the same or had that same feeling?
Yes. And I would say, even though I'm a freshman, I've been looking to Melissa Hortman as a role model for years. Back in January of, I think it was 2018, she came and spoke to 600 educators, so it was a room full of educators at an Education Minnesota conference. And there were multiple speakers that day, but when she spoke, you could hear a pin drop in the room. And I felt a connection with her. I felt like this is somebody that I could be like, because I also don't really want the spotlight, but I do want to do the work and I want to make Minnesota a better place. And so I always looked up to her as a role model in that work. And she really inspired the room. She talked about how if we want to make a difference in the next election, it's going to take every single one of us. And that stuck with me and eventually led me to where I am today.
Representative Gottfried, did she have any words of advice for you when you started your term?
Yeah, well, it wasn't actually when I started the term. I mean, yes, she had those too, but the thing that sticks out to me is Huldah earlier mentioned a meeting with the governor herself, Melissa, and Senate Majority Leader Aaron Murphy after the decision came down, the kind of the linchpin decision to unfortunately remove undocumented adults from eligibility for Minnesota Care. That meeting with those three leaders that the Posse Caucus were active participants in, I went in solidarity with them. After that meeting concluded, and we asked some very tough questions of our leadership as to how this decision was made, you know, a lot of us were distraught. I was walking around, kind of ambling around crying, and she came up to me and gave me a hug, which I've since learned is a very rare thing. She said to me, "I've been there, man. I hope this part never gets easier for you." And to me, that really was that was emblematic of who Melissa was. I mean, she was in this role for over 20 years, and it's really easy to get jaded in this position. And she never did. She held on to her focus on humanity throughout. And so, you know, when it came time to take that vote in the standalone bill to remove undocumented adults from eligibility for Minnesota Care, she was the only DFLer to vote yes. And that was because she knew she needed to take that vote in order to fund state government, to pursue the path of least harm, which was still gravely unfortunate that was required. But she took that vote so the rest of us didn't need to have that on our conscience. She took that vote for the rest of us. And I think that also is emblematic of who she is too as a leader, taking on the mantle of that really, really difficult vote that went against her morals, so the rest of us could have a clean conscience in that. And I have nothing but the best things to say about her.
And just to add to that too, you know, coming from the immigrant community and how tough that was, when that happened, it wasn't something that we hadn't discussed. But when it happened, I was in awe of the strength that she had. Because in my mind, I was like, there's no way I could ever do something like that. But again, like you said, it was all about the people and all people. It didn't matter what part of the aisle you were sitting on. She cared about Minnesota. She cared about Minnesotans. And we talk about that one particular vote, but there's so many votes, there's so many decisions that she made on our behalf that some of them we will never know, you know, and she never came into the caucus telling us, well, I did this for you guys, no, she was never like that. And that's who she was. And so for me, that part of her character will remain with me for the rest of my life in terms of what a true leader was. And she never took credit. Every time something happened, we're talking about family paid leave, we're talking about free lunches. Like, now that we're in it and we're seeing what goes into the sauce, per se, right? Like, nobody will ever understand the magnitude of sacrifice and work that goes into something like what was done in 2023 legislative session. She put in that work, but she will never take credit for it. And for that, I mean, it speaks volume about her character as a leader.
Thank you. Now let's pivot for a minute to talk a little bit about what comes next. Since the news of last week, by a show of hands, have you thought more about the safety and security of your own family and yourself? Have you beefed up security in any way around your homes or your facilities? Or intend to do so?
Yes.
Most likely. Yes, there you go. Has it caused you to rethink whether or not you want to continue to serve? Yeah. Tell us about that.
Definitely the first few days I thought about it, and the main question on my mind was whether my husband and my kids would want me to keep doing this or not. And I thought if they asked me not to, that I would stop for them. This is hard to talk about. So at some point I kind of asked my husband if he felt like he wanted me to keep doing it, and he said yes, absolutely. And also Melissa would want you to keep doing it. And then my kids wrote a beautiful post and shared it with me, and it was about how I gave them inspiration in this political realm that we're in of divisiveness, and that there needs to be people like me in office, and with their support, I'm definitely going to keep going.
All right, thank you. Did it strengthen your resolve, or did you guys have second thoughts at all?
Well, go ahead, yeah.
I mean, for me, I will be very honest, I haven't even allowed myself to go down that path yet. Right now I'm just focused on my family and the safety of my family, and being present for my colleagues, and just being in the moment and dealing with all the emotion that comes with what's happening, because I feel like every other day there's something that triggers this trauma all over again. But I know one thing, Melissa was someone who didn't cower to fear, and I refuse to live my life in that way, because when you do, that's when this darkness wins. And so at the moment, I know I'm a fighter, and we all are, and we know that we have a lot of work to do. I think that Melissa set us up or placed us in a really good position to continue fighting for the people of Minnesota. And for me, not being in this space and not fighting and not continuing to be in community with my colleagues would definitely be a disservice to her legacy.
Yeah, and you know, I'll be honest, for me, you know, when the news first came out, you know, there's always that part of your brain that makes you question whether you made the right choice. But I think very quickly in conversation with my wife, you know, we kind of, as you said, strengthened, our resolve was strengthened throughout this. We had this discussion when I first ran because I have some background researching the determinants of like violent civil unrest within other countries and stuff, and applying that lens to the United States. And we're not in a good place, just based off of key markers. And so I knew I had eyes wide open heading into the election. And I knew that this was a distinct possibility going in. So I think my wife and I had a really good conversation back then. And then we had to readdress that conversation, obviously, after recent events. But just as Huldah said, I mean, we can be afraid, but we need to be brave. Bravery isn't the absence of fear, it is overcoming it. Or if you're not overcoming it, still doing it afraid. Mm-hmm. And I think Melissa would want civil servants to really stand up and continue the good, big, important work. Just a quick note about Melissa. You know, since her passing, I walk around and I look at people that I see. I think about all the ways that Melissa made their life better, and they don't even know it. Mm-hmm. And the amount of good that she has done in this state is monumental. I mean, truly. And I think if any one of us is able to do, I don't know, 1/10 of what she was able to accomplish for the people of this state, that will have been markedly good. And I want to make sure that we continue that work because it's so important.
And just really quickly to add to what also has kept me afloat, and probably both of you guys, is the outpouring of community. Yeah. I mean, even the simple message, hey, we see you, we value you, thank you so much for stepping up and serving. We got your back. That alone has gone a long way, at least for my mental health, to know that I have a community that is backing me. I have a community that still believe I belong in this space. And that, I'm grateful for my community for that, because that reminds me that I'm not in this alone, that the community sees us, and they appreciate the sacrifice that we're putting out there. And obviously our families too. Yeah.
I want to add to what David said. The murderer took her away from us. His name doesn't deserve any fame. But every single one of us is going to double down our efforts. Every single one of us is going to do a portion of that work that she did. And we're going to make sure that her life continues through us and the work that we do for her.
Thank you very much for being here today and for sharing those words. I know it's all still very fresh and it's very hard. So our condolences to each of you, and thank you for taking time today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you. And if you don't mind me saying this on behalf of the freshman class, I think for us, we will miss not having that opportunity to have that relationship with her, right? We hear stories about how she has had relationships with folks for decades, which my heart goes out to them. But for us as freshmen, I think, at least for me, I was so excited to get to know the Melissa that some of our colleagues were talking about, right? And we won't get that chance. I think for me, that's the hardest part about all of this, that we won't get a chance to know her in that way.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.